Hi, welcome back everyone. This is episode 3 of the Mandy Michelle Show, and today we're going to talk about dating. Everyone has their own thing that they are looking for. For me, I don't want casual. I don't want hookups. I don't want this one will do for now until I find the right one. I'm only looking for the one and I know exactly what I want. So some of these things may not even apply to you or what you're looking for. That's all fine and good. We can always talk about that on a different day if you want. But for me, because that is what I'm looking for a certain set of standards, and there's something that, I want my potential man to do. And so many people tell me, well, I don't ever give them enough chances. I don't give them a long enough time to show them who they really are. Well, in my opinion, that's not true, because if he is looking for the same thing, which I won't date someone that's not, just simply because there's no point in him wasting my time, me wasting his time, knowing that that is my ultimate goal, is dating with an intention. And if he's maybe not, it's fine. It's not a big deal. It's just, he's not the one for me. Not a problem. I wish you well and move on. But for me, and for others like me, you should keep those high standards. And I think that I'm giving them plenty of time, because if they're not showing you who they are in the beginning, they're not going to be doing it later on in the relationship. And there's going to be plenty of people, and I've seen plenty of people, on TikTok and YouTube and what have you. And they're like, well, my person didn't do that in the beginning either. Well, that's fine. That was your choice to deal with that, and your choice to go through that with them. I am not. I'm 47 years old. If they don't have it figured out, and I'm not dating a lot younger men. I'm not a cougar by any stretch of the imagination. But if they don't know what they want by now, then they're just not for me. And I'm not going to tell them the kind of man to be, which I think is a lot of issues that men and women come across on both sides. And of course, me talking to friends, both men and women, I think a lot of times men don't even do the bare minimum because they've gotten away with not doing it with other women, because they may do some great date, like some fancy dinner, and he took me here and he bought me this. So then whenever he slacks off on those bare minimums, they're fine with it. Like, they're just like, well, but he'll probably do another one of those dates soon. Whereas me, I don't care about the fancy dates. I care about someone's time, someone's effort, someone's energy. And if they're not going to give that to me on a daily basis, I don't want it. I want them to be my person. I want to be best friends with them. And if they're not willing to put forth that effort for me in the beginning and on a daily basis, then I'm not going to. Now, do they have bad days? And maybe, of course, that's not what I'm talking about. But I'm just talking about on a regular basis where, things are going well, right? So what do I mean by that? Well, I have a few rules initially, and if they don't even pass those, well, then I'm done. And a lot of people say, well, gosh, you just have really high standards. I do. I absolutely do. But the thing is I hold myself to very high standards, and I'm not going to date somebody who doesn't do the same. Don't settle for less than what you deserve just because someone else thinks you should. I'm perfectly fine being single, because I'm not going to settle for something that is not going to make me 100% happy just to say I have somebody. Would I like to have someone? Yes. But I'm not going to make a square peg fit into a round hole. Like, I'm just not going to make something fit that doesn't. So a lot of what I've come across is other men in the dating, during the dating stage, they will say, yes, they're looking for their person as well. So one of the key things that I have run into several times is I won't hear from them for 24 hours. Like, maybe we have already set a date for the following week. And then there will be 24 hours that passes. No calling, no texting, nothing. That to me is a no call, no show. Some people will say, give them 3 days. And then it's, no, for me, no. Why? Because if you're my person and you can go 24 hours without talking to me, you're not my person. Think about your very best friend. Think about the person that you spend the most time with, that you invest all of your time and energy. They've got your back. You probably talk to them every day, don't you? And many, I'll have some that will also say, hey, I'm going to call you later, or I'll call you later this afternoon, or whatever it is. And then I'll hear from them. But then I'll get the good morning text the next morning. And I'm done at that point, because if in the beginning when you're supposed to be putting your best foot forward and you are not doing what you say you're going to do, why in the world would you do it when we're together if I let it slide? Are there things that happen? Don't come at me, of course. But what are the actual chances that you got hit by a train and you're in a ditch? Okay, it kind of goes back to those days when your mom was like, you could have been in a ditch and I didn't know, right? Like, come on. It takes, and here's what I always say, that they took a shit that day. They did. And that man took his phone with him to take a shit so he would have reading material. You couldn't send a text that said, hey, I'm thinking about you. We don't have to know that you're on the toilet, obviously. I mean, if you have that kind of relationship, knock yourself out. I do have that kind of relationship with several of my best friends. That's a different story. But you could say, hey, I got a crazy busy day, had a minute, wanted to say I was thinking about you. I'll call you as soon as I can, or I'll text you later when I can, when I get off work, whatever the situation is. And also, like, there's no excuse for it. And also, whenever you are texting and chatting with someone, usually the first couple days, you can tell how they communicate. So the minute that changes without any kind of a warning, I'll explain that in a minute, then you're like, something's up. Either they have somebody else, maybe they've lost interest. I'm an overthinker, but at the same time, if I'm truly interested in this person and we have been talking and chatting all day long, and then all of a sudden I don't text him or call him that whole afternoon or night, he's probably going to be like, what's up? Like, but they may or may not say anything to you. Not me, not this one. I'm like, look, I noticed your communication fell off. It's cool if you've lost interest. It's cool if you have somebody else. It's whatever the reason. Just let me know. Like, it's not a big deal. And it's really not. Like, I don't care either way, but I notice it, and I'm going to let you know that I notice it. I'm not just going to keep pretending, because I'm not wasting my time. And there have been several times that they've done that. Oh no. And they had some bull excuse, or maybe it was a real excuse, and then the behavior changed. But if not, if they keep repeating the behavior, then I'm done and I'm out, and I wish them the best. It's not anger. It's not hate. You're not for me. Because if you were, you would let me know. And so without warning, what I mean by that is, if you have been communicating with someone for a while, and you've got a big day of meetings coming up, or whatever the issue is, and you're not going to be able to text as much. Maybe you're going on a hike and the receptionist spotty, whatever it is. All you have to do is give a little warning. That's respect. That is not control. That is respect, going, hey, now we've been chatting. I've got a crazy busy day scheduled with meetings. I've got to work at 8 or whatever. I don't get off until late. I will try to text you if I can, but no promises. If not, you will definitely hear from me when I get off work. Cool. Not a problem. It's very simple. Open communication is a big deal, and so many are scared to do that in the beginning. And that is another thing that I've also come across, is sometimes there wants to be some game playing, as far as, well, I didn't want to text you too much, or I didn't want to seem needy, or it could be anything. Why do you not just do what you feel like you want to do? And if you feel like you're texting or calling too much, Did you ever think about maybe just having a conversation and see how they feel about it? Because maybe they like it. And if they don't, that person, either side, should be honest and be like, yeah, I kind of got, okay, I can't, maybe not that much, or I don't mind you texting, but I may not always be able to respond back immediately, whatever. That's what communication is. Basically, do what you say you're going to do. If you say you're going to call me later that night and you don't, I am done. Again, it's in the beginning. I'm talking about in the beginning. Well, I mean, really, that's during the relationship too, because if I'm in a relationship with you and you tell me you're going to do something and you don't, then that's going to turn into worry. Like, I thought something maybe happened to you because you've always done what you said you're going to do. It's just a matter of respect. And it's a matter of showing them, I value your time. And I value the effort that you're also putting in. And this is the effort I'm putting in, is I just, I want to let you know this is why, or X, Y, Z. But be honest. That's the main thing. Just be honest. Don't lie about the person that you are. Don't say that you'll do one thing when you know good and well you only do it in the beginning or whatever. And also, why do you do things in the beginning that you're not going to do later on in the relationship? You're setting yourself up for failure. Don't do it. Just be you and be unapologetically you. The right person's going to want you as long as you have the right standards and you know what you will and will not tolerate. So just kind of be aware of that, because I have found just in my dating life that the majority of men don't do what they say they're going to do, and they try and tell me they're this, I'm this, I do this, and this. That's fine on a certain level, but when you keep on and on and on, just show me, because that's going to speak more volumes than you just telling me. Like, I want to know who you are for sure, but I'd rather you show me, because if they're all talk and no action, that gets boring very easily. I notice very quickly whenever someone has an energy change, like they're very friendly, they're very talkative, and all of a sudden it shifts after several days. Maybe you've met, maybe you haven't, it doesn't matter. And I just simply ask them, because I'm not going to sit there and wonder, and that's just if they're still reaching out, that I'm just like, look, I don't get, like, you were this before and now you're not. That's cool. If you're not, just let me know. I don't really give a shit. But don't think that I don't notice. And these are a lot of people that are like, don't ever say anything. They don't need to know. And I mean, that's true. You don't have to say anything, but that's when I would just ghost them. But if they're still reaching out, I don't. But even if they kind of stopped or slacked or whatever, I may not even say anything, because that kind of stuff bores me. And that is what women and men should both do. You have your standards, you set them, you expect them. Don't falter at all just because, wow, she's really pretty, or man, he's really good looking, or he has this great job, or she does this. Why? You deserve the whole package. Don't back down on what you deserve. You have your non-negotiables, you have your negotiables. Stick to those non-negotiables. I have several. I don't back down from them, because I know that my person is going to encompass all of those. And then I have some that are negotiables. These are things that I would like, but there can be compromise in this. I think everybody should have that list. Know what you'll take and know what you won't, and stick to it. Don't let them falter, not even once. That's not saying don't ever give a second chance. Some do warrant a second chance, because sometimes they don't even realize they're doing it. But for me, some of the simple things, there's no point in giving a second chance, because that's just who they are, and that's okay. They're just not for me. So just kind of be aware of that. Like, and if you're not sure, like, ask a trusted friend, like, this is how I'm feeling about this. This happened. What are your thoughts? And maybe you're overthinking. I'm an overthinker. And so I lean on some friends, and I'm just like, look, am I overthinking this? Or, and they were like, I don't think so. I see why you're saying that, but just, this is something I would just ask and, you know, not read into it too much until you see what he says. So I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Whatever. Sometimes you just need a good friend to talk some sense into you, talk you off the ledge, right? Lies. I don't do lies at all. The minute, even a little white lie, if you're going to lie about something little with, you know, no care, you're going to lie about the big things too. And especially if you're going to lie about a big thing, then you go, what else has he been lying about? What else has she been lying about? Don't tolerate it. And you don't lie, just be honest. And one of the things that it took me a minute to realize, because when I first started getting back out there after my marriage, and a man would ask, you know, well, what are you looking for? What are you looking for in a man? My dumbass told him. Why would I do that? Why would I do that? That is ridiculous, because then he can just become that, and then you don't know till it's too late. But that's not really him. He just wanted to get you. That's a whole different video. That's usually, in a lot of times, those men will fall into narcissism, but that'll be a different video we talk about. I'm not saying all of them do, but so if a man ever asked me that, and men, I suggest you kind of do the same. And that's not saying that you can't tell them a little bit about it, but I do it in an extremely general way. I expect chivalry. I, you know, want him to be kind. I want him to be genuine. Because then it's up to him to figure out what all that shit means. I want him to be romantic. I want him, whatever it is. Think about things that you really, really want him to do. And use a general word for it and let him figure it out. In other words, let him show you, or let her show you, who they are themselves. And that way you can cut through all the BS. You don't know, well, is he doing this just because I said it? Is she doing this just because she heard I said I liked it, or whatever? You don't have to worry about it. They don't know exactly what your definition is of that, because some men that told me they were chivalrous were not. They would literally open the door, walk in, and let it hit me in the face. They thought just because they paid for the meal, that was chivalry. And I was like, no. So use that kind of stuff generally. And if they're like, why won't you tell me? Why won't you tell me? And it's like, why do you want, like, if you're this great guy, why don't you just show me? Because maybe you're going to outdo my list. Did you ever think about that? Like, maybe you're going to blow my mind a little bit. You don't know. And if he's really that great, then he won't have a problem checking that off. If not, then maybe y'all just aren't compatible and you move on. But let's stop wasting time, and let's stop giving everyone the blueprints to you and your heart. Don't do it. You know, you can just say, I'm protective of my woman, or I like it when she lets me blah, blah, blah. Some of them were just as simple as, I like it when she lets me hold the door open for her. And, but I do think that a lot of times, men and women both, they've gotten away with doing the bare minimum or less than the bare minimum just because of those grandiose other gestures that they do. Now, what about red flags though? Some red flags for me is if I tell them how I feel about something and they blow off how I feel. That's a huge red flag, because everyone has different feelings. And if I'm feeling a certain way, or if you're feeling a certain way, it's not fair for me to say, that's stupid that you feel that way, or you shouldn't feel that way. Everyone's different. Everyone reacts to things differently. What's a big deal to one may not be a big deal to the other. But if you're going to blow off how your actions or something makes me feel, then that shows me that you don't care, and you will never validate any kind of feelings and attempt to be understanding as to where I'm coming from. That's not okay. That can also be someone that's, you know, either scared of their own feelings. Maybe they're a narcissist. Maybe they're a sociopath. You don't know. It could be anything. Or maybe just because it's not a big deal to them, they don't understand why it's a big deal to you. So in the dating scheme, you know, maybe they're a great person, but they just don't, like, it's not a big deal to them. So they don't understand. Well, they don't know why it's a big deal to you. And, you know, maybe if you're safe, you feel safe enough to discuss that with them, give them a better understanding, then they can be like, I can see, like, I've never experienced that, so I can understand now why you feel that way. So that's one big one. Or if they act differently each day, like one day they're really nice, and then the next day they're kind of distant and maybe not quite as talkative, and then the next time they're all excited to see you and meet you, but then they make plans with their friends. Like, it's just the wishy-washy stuff I can't do. I need consistency, and I think everyone should get that, because it shouldn't be you waking up and, oh, I wonder what version of this person I'm going to get today. I would think that would be a red flag for everybody, but you'd be surprised. What about can you do constructive criticism with them? What if they give you some constructive criticism on something that they see, like that you're doing that maybe you don't realize you're doing? And I've had some men that I've dated, they've pointed something out kindly to me. I didn't even notice it. And I was like, oh, shit, I do that. I didn't even think about it from your perspective. Like, thanks for telling me, and then I'm more aware of it. But what if you did that to them? Because there have been times where men that I've dated have done that to me. I took it into account. It wasn't always, I didn't agree. Sometimes I was like, oh shit, I didn't even realize. But then if I did that to them, they were like, this is your trauma. That's why you pointed this out to me. Red flag. They do everything right. They can point out all you're wrong, but they can't, because I wasn't attacking him, but it was my fault. No, that is a huge red flag. That is someone who lacks empathy and has a grandiose sense of self. Not okay. Not okay. Again, you're not always going to agree, but is it every single time you give constructive criticism they do that? You know, sometimes maybe they just don't agree with you, and I think it really depends on how their reaction to it. If they're like, that's because, if they turn around and pinpoint, oh no, that's your trauma and it's because you did this, or instead of them going, I know I did that, but I meant it from this space, not that. Like, that makes a little more sense, right? Okay, what about, that kind of goes back to the refusing to take responsibility. Like, they never do anything wrong. I didn't do that. Or turns around and points the finger back at you. That's kind of the same thing. That's gaslighting. They deny your reality. Like, you said this and said, I didn't say that. You made that up. You're crazy. You made it up. That's not. Red flag. Get the fuck out. Don't. Like, do not pass go. Do not collect $100. Just get the fuck out. Run in the other direction. Not okay. Everyone has a different perspective. Perspectives are not wrong. But refusing to take accountability for one's actions, especially when you have the proof in texts, which has happened, or in a voice recording, and they're still trying to say that they didn't. No, I don't want those kind of people in my inner circle. I certainly don't want them as my person. So don't be scared to go. And then there's love bombing. This is a huge no-no. And sometimes men wear their hearts on their sleeves, and it may not always be love bombing. But for me, the main difference for love bombing is, you're exactly what I'm looking for. You're the perfect woman. You do this. Oh, this is great. They are putting you on a pedestal, as opposed to, I love it when women do this. And it just happens to be something that you do. And they're constantly putting you on a pedestal, because that love bombing is to get you trapped into, it's just going to be a loophole, because it's going to make you fall faster, because you're really, like, they're agreeing with everything that you're saying. You're so great. You have amazing ideas. You're so beautiful. I love how you do this, blah, blah. when everything is just you on a pedestal and I worship the ground you walk on, that's when it's a problem. That's not saying that he can't say, you're beautiful, I love your brain, I love it when you do this. But when it's a constant barrage, be cautious, because sometimes you can't tell, is this just a really sensitive man that's wearing his heart on his sleeve, or is he trying to suck you in and make you fall faster so he can trap you into thinking, and because all that's going to stop and all that's going to fade away really, really quickly if it's too much too soon. That's not saying that he's not going to do that over time, but I'm talking about initially in the beginning. It's just a constant barrage of, you're amazing, you're great, like you don't disagree with anything I do. You don't think that everybody has faults. And even somebody I like really well, there's going to be certain faults that I'm going to see in them, but they're just not going to bother me as much. And that's the difference. Like, they're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. And whenever they're giving you like, you're perfect, everything you can do constantly in the beginning, it's kind of suffocating, and it usually doesn't last. And it's usually kind of toxic behavior coming from most, not all, but most. Like, sometimes I do have friends that are they just fall hard and they fall fast. So I don't want to say that that's all of them, but just be cautious of it. And if you can't distinguish, ask a trusted friend. This is happening. What should I do? Because there might be certain things that you might be able to do to where he's not going to love bomb you with it, and you can go, okay, he's just one of those guys that just is all about his woman, and he truly thinks that about me, but he does see some, he doesn't think that 100% of me is perfect. Do you know what I mean? It can kind of be a fine line a lot of times, and it's just kind of something you've got to be aware of and kind of be cautious of. But those were just some of the things initially in dating that I really like. I really try to do, or really things that I try to kind of watch out for. And I hope that this really kind of helps you, kind of gives you some insight. Again, it's going to be different for everyone, but for me, these are kind of hard and fast things that I stick to. There are probably some other things, but these are things that I'm just looking for in a person. But if someone's looking for something more casual, of course, they're not going to be so much of a stickler, because it's not going to matter that much to them. They're not going to spend they're not going to want to spend the rest of their life with someone, whatever. So, and it's all different. And it's all different based on what certain people want. Not every man is going to be looking for the same kind of relationship that I am. It doesn't mean that because he doesn't do these things, he's not good for a long-term relationship. It just means he's not good for me for a long-term relationship. So kind of take that into consideration. Get those non-negotiables. Get your list that is negotiable and stick to it. Stop settling and allowing everyone to get away with, well, he does all the other things, but this one non-negotiable, he doesn't fit into this. Why are you faltering on that? Why are you moving your goalpost from that? Don't do it, because I guarantee you somebody out there is going to fit that description. Just take it as it is. And is it something that you can bring up to him or her? And maybe it's something that they've never thought about, and like, I'd actually kind of like to do that though, and see if they will. You can always try and open communication and stick to it and talk to them about it. Maybe you can work it out. And if not, I can usually tell that it's not for me. It's a gut feeling I get. So, and do pay attention to your gut. Your gut never lies to you. It's your fight or flight. It knows what it's saying. So if you don't have a good feeling in your gut about it, don't do it. Don't try and make it fit. Okay. Y'all know your worth. Don't settle. Okay. Happy dating out there. And if anybody has any more non-negotiables or negotiables they like to leave in the comments, I'd love to hear what they are. Maybe I'll add them to my list. Or maybe you can explain as to why I shouldn't have that on my list. But anyway, I appreciate y'all tuning in and hope to see y'all next week. Thanks so much. Have a great evening.